We are approaching, are we not, the feast of St. Patrick, and we know the victory that grace had through him over a pagan land, driving out demonic worship. For if there was power in the air, it was harnessing of energy unclean. And that was the victory that prevailed in this holy land, we can say basically until the last roughly 30-35 years. And there has been then a very quick shift towards ungrace. And we notice that something similar to what the Lord warns about is taking place. It is becoming perhaps worse than before the demons were cast out in the first place. What we are not aware of is that the demon never sleeps and is far more intelligent than we are. Being of a higher order, not only angelic, but probably the highest of them all, originally Lucifer, bringer of light, he is far more able to outwit us than we can imagine. We are trained to be gentle, kind, and in a sense passive. He takes advantage of it, of our courtesy. It happens on the level of false religion, taking advantage of Christianity's charity. You know what I mean. It also happens in practice in church life itself. One time, some years ago, an exorcism was taking place, and the exorcist was trying to get out of the demons present who was there. So he was, in the name of Christ and of the Blessed Virgin, using all his sacerdotal power to extract, bit by bit and painfully, who was there. Because it was such a powerful case that he thought it might be Lucifer himself. Eventually, under pressure, it came out. It was the demon of which this gospel speaks, Baal Zebub. It means the Lord of the Flies. The exorcist was puzzled and wanted to know why he was there, being a high-ranking one but not the chief. And Beelzebub replied that it was by order of the chief. And so the exorcist carried on the tirade to find out exactly what was their mode of operating. And it turned out that they had, in reverse, exactly what we would have in positive. As we have the 9 choirs of angels, in perfect order and obedience and harmony, so too, in reverse, they have, in reverse order precisely, obedience to the top, which is the bottom. And it works as any perfect army would, only better, because they're angels fallen and not men. Some years ago, I was giving a retreat in a monastery in France, Fontgombault, Benedictine. And on the way back, I had to pass through Paris. And I happened to be sitting next to one of the priests who had taken part in the retreat. As we came towards the suburbs of Paris, he indicated, beside the train, a church which had a history. He said that in the 50s, something strange happened in that church. The people around had observed that every so often smart black cars were agglomerating around it, and mysterious people were going inside it, usually at unexpected hours for social behavior. Investigation was carried out seriously, and this is what transpired. one of the priests in that parish was apparently celebrating validly the sacraments. What had happened, and this is probably the tip of the iceberg, he had been pushed through the seminary network and system, not at all by vocational impulse, but by a gigantic, orchestrated, concerted plan from actually communists to, from within, inquinate, contaminate, divide and damage the Catholic Church, for which they have a perfect hatred. I mean the demons themselves, using men who are in league, indirectly or directly, consciously or unconsciously, with them. And so, it seems that up until about a generation ago, we know this also from other sources, there were, working inside the structure of the church, hostile forces using the influence they had in virtue of being priests, and often through very strange means, important priests, able then to damage profoundly the Catholic Church. In the period of the Council, we know that the demons were extremely interested in what was going on, because what was going to happen, as they foresaw, was that by means of a certain pushing, they would push through the new openness coming in, especially after the opening, things which were actually already programmed. We know from discovered evidence from as early as 1925 that there were secret documents among high-ranking Freemasons regarding how to destroy from within the Catholic Church and its faith and its order. And we are surprised to find that amongst the articles for which they were going particularly to strive were, wait for it, Holy Communion received standing, Holy Communion received in the hand, details which have become norms, not immediately after the Council, but progressively, without our realizing what sometimes was going on, and who and how things were being pushed in through official channels, but under pressure, so that disobedience led to later approval. When it came to the reaction of the Vatican, all that could be done in practice was a damage limitation operation. All the public declarations, documents, and directives given by the Vatican are essentially this, under certain circumstances, may be authorized, but, and there was always a loophole, and it was always the loophole that became the norm. Recently, in England, was published the brand new translation of the Missal, with its English introduction for countries under the English hierarchy, that is the whole conference. And in the directives given, there was one typical remark, published with authority in the Missal itself, it seems. The normal way for receiving Holy Communion in this country is standing, and on it went. In other words, bit by bit, exceptions have become norms, and choices have just gone through the window, and only one choice is now politically correct, and people are aggressed, I say, if they follow their conscience at the most sacred of all moments. Now, who and what can do such a thing in the very temple of the Lord? Well, Paul VI said so in 1972, I believe, that through some crevice, some chink, the smoke of Satan has crept in to the temple of God. He was discreet, but he was trying to get the message through. All is not good. And what the devil wants is divide and conquer. His own name means division. Diabolein means get in the midst and divide. And if we see division now in the most monolithic and powerful bulldozer of the centuries, the Roman Catholic Church, who is behind it? Even now, division goes into subdivision. I understand that one split, that of the Society of Pius X, is in difficulty because a part of them are following Bishop Williamson. Again, the devil is very happy. The more division he can cause, often of people of great good faith trying to defend what is dear to them. But confusion reigns, and the devil has a field day watching with glee. I would like to bring this to our level. We need to be aware that the devil loves confusion and loves also din and mental confusion, noise. He loves to make sure that we cannot hear the voice of God. He loves also to expose us to a great process by which unconsciously we are conditioned, and by which we are given to understand that the norm, the official truth is this, and very few cop on. I've just come out of retreat in a place where the world was miles away. Just adoration day and night amidst angels of this earth, nuns enclosed, singing beautifully and doing nothing but praying and singing all day and all night. And there I was able to see things with a greater clarity. If one steps out of time, one sees the world. One sits on it, as it were, and looks on. One also hears time, because the monastic bells ring out relentlessly 7 times a day. And it hit me. In fact, it was what I said in the very last remark of the retreat I gave. Perhaps the Lord would have us do fewer things.